What do you make of these numbers? Let me ask you that simply, Neethan Shan.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, we've seen the last McKenty government go over budget on many spending and you know, talking about efficiency, and then we have had scandals and many millions of dollars being spent in consultants, lobbies, and people inside us. But more importantly, you know, there was a talk about cuts if conservatives come, and Mr. Balkissoon himself said the healthcare would stay the same. And if the healthcare stays the same, if the education stays the same, it's not something that people are going to be satisfied with from what I've been knocking on doors and hearing from people. We need our wait times to go down. We need our wait list on the long-term care, attendant care to home care to go down. We need to be able to make sure that people are able to receive a health care that's satisfactory to them. And, you know, to keep it the same for another 4 years, it's a total disservice, and we're going to be going further and further down on the waiting list and making sure that we don't like. And the education is the same thing. You know, we have more and more schools have to, parent councils are forced to fundraise for essentials in the schools, which we want to be able to address and support. So basically, what my thing is, you know, we need to be able to move beyond status quo, not just keeping it as it is.
Well, what are your? Do you have a comparable number to the $1.5 billion and the $14 billion?
Well, I don't have the number, but what I know is we want to roll back.
Are your promises fully costed? I guess I'll ask you that.
It is costed.
It is costed by whom?
By the party. I'm not sure who the economist is.
Okay.
We don't have the.
I
don't have the name of the economist to list here, but it's fully costed, and it is going to come from rolling back the corporations that have gotten a lot of giveaways and taxes in the last many years. When we roll back to the 2010 rates, we would still be comparable. We would still be far less than many of the states and many of the provinces as far as corporate tax rates are. So we need to be able to roll back some of the tax benefits that we became to big corporations.
Understanding that and hearing you say that, then what do you make of the facts and figures that were released by the Ontario Health Coalition a couple of weeks ago that showed since 1990 we have in Ontario lost 18,000 hospital beds and are now on a per capita basis we have the fewest hospital beds of any province in Canada. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I don't know where that organization is getting its numbers, but I can tell you.
From Statistics Canada, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the Canadian Public Health Information Centre.
Okay, but if you look at, we have actually built 18 hospitals. You have to remember their reports probably going back to when the PC government was in place, when they actually
well, they've taken the average since 1990, you see.
And they have closed several hospitals.
So you're saying we're recovering from
We are recovering for it. The same, Mr. Shan also commented that we're firing nurses. I want to clarify, we've actually hired 11,500 nurses into the system since we've taken government, which has improved our healthcare significantly. Is there more to do? Yes. And if you look at our platform going forward, we expect those efficiencies to pay off, and we're also going to continue to work to see that the system deliver what the public wants.
Neethan Shan, just before we go on, anything to add to?
Definitely. I mean, what we are hearing from the party as the track record, and what we are hearing from people on the ground is totally different. Healthcare is one of the major issues for people, and one of the reasons.
It falls near the top every time, doesn't it?
One of the reasons is they're not satisfied. Our populations have been increasing. You know, we are getting the hospital. For example, the town of Vaughan's population, or city of Vaughan's population, doubled in the last decade and a half, and then we're just now getting we're moving much slower than what it needs to be, and in that process we are losing a lot of people. Almost 1 million people, 900,000 people do not have access to primary care. And these are staggering numbers, and we cannot be just happy that we are trying to help another 50 or 20,000 people. We need to be able to have a holistic vision to make sure that we have people.
You're saying your hospital beds is not best in the world. In fact, it ranks near the bottom. If you talk about hospital beds per person, we're near the bottom. We rate alongside Turkey, Chile, and Mexico.
We have set up structures.
2.5 hospital, according to this report anyway, 2.5 hospital beds per 1,000 people.
We've set up a structure through LINS that's actually costing us millions of dollars as well. You know, it's supposed to increase the community's connectedness, but in fact it's doing the exact opposite, because 33 million has been spent so far on consultants and people who are just brought in to find more more
Yeah,
information,
okay.
but not necessarily trying to solve the issue.
Can you offer the counter argument that you just heard on the local health integration networks?
Dale, I hear my two friends here criticize LINS, but they haven't offered what they're going to do other than kill it and bring it back centrally. And from my experience with the Metropolitan Toronto government and the amalgamation, bigger is not necessarily better. I will tell you, I've had the opportunity of working in the Ministry of Health for several years, and I have traveled the province, and I can tell you, LINS is the way to go, because what you're doing is you're empowering the local community with a local board to determine their healthcare needs locally and spend the money that is being given to them based on best services within their community.
So it's more than just another level of bureaucracy.
It's not a level of bureaucracy, it's an actual delivery, and there are many, many positive examples around the province where a unique solution was found in a particular community that solution would not work in community B if you had a one-size-fit-all from a central government. So you have to look at LINS and what it is delivering positively. Now, it is a new system. It has growing pains. It will take time to establish its footing and foundation and be very, very successful. But I can tell you, you can call any member of a LIN board and they will tell you the good things they're doing throughout our province.
Well, of course the LIN board members will tell you that. Of course they will.
And you can even talk to the doctors and the nurses in those communities, and they will tell you how positive this has been working for patient care.
Let me get a little more feedback on the LINs.
Decentralized structure. In fact, it's better. In fact, if it's better, if it's more grounded with people, but it almost seems like another level, so the Ministry of Health can decide on some cuts and all those stuff through a layer that is supposedly represented by communities, and which is what is a problem for communities.
You're suggesting is not represented by communities.
It is not.
It is government-appointed people. You know, they might be nice people, they might be qualified people, but it's still not connected.
But aren't they government-appointed local people?
They're local people selected by the board. All we have to do is confirm their appointment. So my friend is incorrect.
Isn't that local enough?
That's fine. But I think the local community, if you ask the local community how much access do they have in decision making through LINS, they would say almost none. Because if local residents want to have impact on the LINS,
how much access do they have before LINS?
In fact, that's why we need to decentralize it, but
not that way.
Not that way.
Okay.
Not that way.
Jamal, you have a question for the candidates.
Hi, good night.
Hi.
Hi. My question is, what do you guys have to offer for urban kids living in metro housing?
For urban kids living in metro housing?
Yes, correct.
Okay. You know, you're talking the provincial government here, not the local government, eh? On kids that live in urban housing.
I would say to you that all levels of government got out of public housing support many, many years ago, and they have not invested in new housing. Our government started to invest in housing again. We actually provided the City of Toronto, if I remember correctly, about $100 million several years ago to do some repairs. We're continuing to work with them on rent supplements so we could actually have the community that requires assistance to live in the greater community rather than public housing. If you look at Regent Park, it's a perfect model of public housing, how it could be rehabilitated in Toronto, and I think the City of Toronto is looking at Lawrence Heights and a few others to do the same thing. And
but my point is, and my point with Jamal was, the money comes in part from Queen's Park, but in terms of the administration of the monies and programs that might help urban kids who live in those areas, that's really not the bailiwick of the Ontario government,
no,
is
it's
it?
a municipal government.
Yeah, yeah, but the financial support still has to be there from time to time. Neethan Shan?
We're talking about young people in metro housing or social, and these young people,
socially assisted housing.
And his question was directed to the young people because they feel a lot of stigmatization. There is, neglect, and there's, because of the repairs and because of the way it's maintained, their social economic capital has been reduced, and that's what, even though it's not a provincial issue, we do have a Ministry of Children and Youth Services that needs to be addressing that issue directly, investing in programs that help specifically those targeted communities that are living, because this stigma is not going to go away because the community itself did not create the stigma. There's a lot of social process that led to it. So we need to be able to invest in, say, specific programs to housing complexes, to invest in job training, in terms of education, in terms of mentorship, youth programs, have to be targeted. We cannot just have a blanket program for areas and say, you know, this youth worker works in all the areas. We need to be able to target. And as a former youth worker, I think that's probably what I would suggest as a start.
What's the mood of the people when you knock on their doors in this campaign? Let me ask Shan, what kind of mood are you encountering at the door?
Well, definitely frustration, but also a drive to have a change. So people are motivated to have a change in the area.
Time to throw in an old government, put in a new government, just for the sake of
status quo politics, and they're ready to do.
All right, okay.
Dale, actually, I've had a very positive response because when I got elected, Scarborough-Rouge River had a lot of crime problems.
So you're hearing good things.
And it's been improved significantly, and the community is happy.
And final thoughts?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank all the Scarborough-Rouge River residents for the overwhelming support so far, and I hope to have your continued support. I'm running on a platform to bring affordable change, to make life affordable for our young people, for our families, and making sure that our education system improves, our healthcare system improves. And I used to be a youth worker, a teacher, executive director, worked in the community for 10 years, and live in the area with my family. And hope you will select a local leadership from the community, but also choose the party that will bring affordable change for you. Thank you.
I'm Balkissoon, and I'm a resident of Scarborough-Rouge River for the past 35 years. And I've spent these years as a resident, as a volunteer in the community, as a volunteer soccer coach, and 23 years in elected office, building a stronger community that we can all be proud of. I ask you to support me on October the 6th to be re-elected as your MPP for Scarborough-Rouge River.